Hello again, retro gaming fans. Ryan Mcquinn here. As promised, I'm going to show how to replace the title screen in Streets of Rage 2. Not only that, I'm going to show another, I believe, better way to replace the portraits in the character select screen, and the first story screen that shows up after the Sega logo. Okay, so let's get into it. Updated my compression utility. I've added a more info field that actually tells you a few notes that I've come across. And I've added more to Syndicate Wars, like the portraits and the story screen. Anyways, let's start off with the US title. So we'll go ahead and pull in our ROM. And we'll give it a name. We'll just call it US title.bin. Rip it out. We'll minimize this because we'll utilize all the information that we see in here. Now, the next step is you're going to want to open up with Sonic Map Editor. Nice jumbled up mess, but let's go ahead and pull in a palette for it. Now, bear in mind, and actually, you know what? I will show you how to get that palette. Let's go ahead and open up Hex Editor Neo. And bring that in here. Now, this is a location where we're going to find the palette, 5D94. So we'll just go ahead and go there. Okay, so here we are at 5D94. And we are going to grab that palette. Now, we essentially just want two full lines. You figure that each grouping right here would be one color. So you have 16 colors in total. So you have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So go ahead and copy that. Paste it into a new file. And we will save that in the title folder. We'll call it US title palette.bin. With that done, we can go back to here and we can pull in that palette that we just created. And now the colors match up. Next part, and this is a clever idea that my wife actually told me. And it let's just say it worked. We'll go ahead and we want to make this now. The title screen is 34 characters wide, or 34 tiles wide, by 14 tiles down, or 14 columns and 34 rows. So what I did was I made it so everything matched up perfectly. I had 28 across because that's the actual width of the original logo. So I'll go ahead and grab it 4 at a time. Now you might have to play with this a little bit to get it to not shove off the other side of the screen. So you figure if you want 28, you'd want 7. Since they're 4 long, you want 7. So we have 2 here, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Yep, bumped off over there. So if you look in the settings for Sonic Map Editor, you'll see the hotkeys for moving between tiles. In this case, it's just semicolon and apostrophe to move left and right. And we can use the arrow keys when it's highlighted to move over. We'll go over 4 squares. I'll do this for each one so it lines up on the screen so you don't get confused, because it gets confusing if it goes off. And now we can bring this last one up in line. And we're just going to keep going down the list until we have all the tiles up here. Now, the reason why I'm not mapping this out is because later on we are going to change the mapping. We are just getting everything on here lined up, basically from 0 to whichever denomination it ends in, E something. Now I just wanted to make sure that I point this out too. This very first tile must be black. Reason being is because it uses it like a transparency, and if you have any other color in there, it will plaster that all over the screen. I ran into this problem and scratched my head on it until I realized, oh, that's the tile being repeated. So anyways, let's go ahead and add the rest. Okay, with that done, we actually have a perfectly square, well, perfectly square, right, rectangle mess that we can now modify. And you can do this any way you want. You can go ahead and utilize the entire space if you choose to, if you want a wider logo rather than longer. And there is room to add more to it. What I suggest is you can extract the Japanese logo and you can use that as a template because it actually has a lot more tiles, and you can go ahead and space that however you like and recompress it and send it right back into the ROM. For the purpose of this video though, I'm just going to use the original. So we'll go ahead and save the image, export sprite frame. We'll call it US title new.bin. Oh, nope, not bin, BMP. It's a bitmap. Okay, and you really can use whatever photo editing software you want. I'm just going to use MS Paint for this part. It's easy enough just to get everything done in here. Normally my choice is GIMP, but okay, so remember we want this first one up here to be black. So I will actually leave a black space up here. Not perfectly square, but that's okay, because I'm just going to fill it in with black anyway. Yeah, come to think of it, I didn't really need to even do that. I could have just deleted it and filled in, but whatever. So bear in mind, we want to make sure that the colors we're going to use are in the palette. You could always change the palette in the ROM if you'd like. I could show you how to do that later. For this, we'll go ahead and use red writing. 20. Okay, new title. Let's stretch this out. Now, when you modify this, you may have to take it into something like Tile Layer Pro or Tile Molester, just to kind of polish it up a bit. You could do it in here, but bear in mind, when it goes back into the Sonic Map Editor, not only the colors might be off, but it just may look like garbage. So after you've saved it from the Sonic Map Editor, you may need to take it into a tile editor just to polish it up a little bit. Nothing too major. Okay, we're going to save this. And now we're going to go back into the map editor, load from image, import over active frame. I'm sure if you've watched the portraits video, you remember this part. And it looks like it actually went over pretty well. You know, the Y got chopped off a little, but that's my fault for leaving it close to the bottom. It'll serve its purpose. Let's go ahead and save data file, uncompressed. And we can call this US title new. We can close the Sonic Map Editor now. Don't mind my desktop. And first we will take this one and we will bring it into this folder where the compression utility is. Bring that back up and recompress it. And we'll call this, say, comp for compression, compressed. Okay. Now we are going to place this back where we found it. If you need to reference the address, just click back on here. It'll show back up 39018. Okay. So bring up Hex Editor Neo. Just maximize this. And we will drag our newly compressed one into here to open it. Select all and copy. And we're going to go to 39018. Okay, and we're here at 39018. And we can just paste it right here. Now be sure to go down to the bottom because we do have to check something. Yep. You want to have a 00 after it because what I think happens is as it tries to decompress this when the ROM is running, it'll run into this thinking that it's part of it when it's not. We can save that. Now usually for these, the mapping is right above it. Let's see. 3901. Looks like mapping to me up here. Let's go ahead and reference our tool. 38B8C. There we go, 38B8C. Now alignment on this is pretty crucial to have it come out looking right. You do kind of have to play around with this a little bit. And luckily, there aren't really any bits in here that you have to worry about deleting and it won't run. Unlike the story one, which we'll get into later. The only thing is remember we made ours 28 wide and the size on screen is actually 34, so we're going to have to fill that in with blank space, which we can use the very first tile, which is just a black square anyway. Without modifying anything, let's go ahead and play test this to make sure that our textures went in correctly. Yep, there they are, just a nice jumbled mess. Okay. So the original one looks like it has 4 blank squares. Yes. Let's go ahead, and the way we can test out where we're starting is we can just do, we'll start out with our first tile. Our second one will be 1, 2, and we'll just keep going up in sequential order. You know what, we'll stop right here, and we'll save this, and we'll check it in the emulator. Okay, looks like we're starting here, and we've not gotten very far, but that's okay. So let's see, let's count how many tiles we have on screen now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we have 26 on screen right now. Let's do the full 28. And you know what might be a good idea too is to make everything else just blank space. Now we'll see that this ends at 39017, which is literally 1 space away from the title. This is a lot of mapping, so it will take time. Okay. So from here on down, it's all blank space up until our actual title screen, which is this 9C down here, which won't let me click. We'll save that. And we should only see the very tips of the first set of tiles. Well, since the very top ones are all black anyway, we can verify that with the image we created. Yeah. So this whole top section. Alright. Just in the interest of getting the title up there and getting the alignment correct, we'll consider this to be 28 that we're at, since we already put 28 tiles down. So go 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. So the next one will be another regular tile, and we'll just pick up where we left off. Okay, so we have 21 tiles so far. Let's go and add 7 more. It went up to 37. That actually worked out fine. Okay. Go ahead, and we have another line up there, so let's test this out and see where it is. Okay. Aligned a bit left, but that's okay. I think we can go ahead and fill out the rest, or just do a few more lines and see how it shows up. Now, I will include a map file that you can just paste into here, and the alignment will be set up for this exact setup where you have the 28 across. So that might help you if you're going to go for the 28 across and not trying to make anything wider, which I mean, it's completely up to you. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to include a mapping file. Now I wanted to point out something. These 20s here are basically pointing out which part of the tiles you're using. They're split up into 2, so this 21 is basically, section 0 and then section 1. And then these are each individual tile. And there we go. replaced title screen. Now, this down here is actually text within the ROM, and you can literally just search for it with a hex editor. It's not encrypted or anything. So I mean, even just look for the word music. Okay, so I just picked the wrong thing up there for searching. So here it is, music. And we can change this to whatever we want. I'm not sure if lowercase is in here. Everywhere I look, it's uppercase, so I've just been following suit. Okay. Now, when we open this back up, instead of saying, I don't even remember what the name said, but it should say this is a test 1, 2, 3, 4. And there we go. Now, this SEGA right here, it is text, but it doesn't show up in ROM the same way. So if you were to come back here and see this 1992, it's literally these symbols right here. So you have pound, $, percent, and that would be the SEGA right there. And quite literally, I can just put SEGA, and you'll notice that it completely changes in the ROM. Instead of being this blue set of tiles here, it'll still say Sega now since I put in SEGA, but if I'm not mistaken, it'll be yellow. Still blue. Let's try something else. How about my name? Yep. Okay, so why they put that in there like that, I don't understand. It makes no sense. You can just spell out Sega, but whatever. Okay, so that's pretty much it for replacing the title screen. Let's go ahead and go on to the portraits. Okay, so last time for portraits, I left a template in here for the mappings, and there were spaces in there that were, I believe, purple, where you could not color over because they were repeating tiles. Now, this time, I did something similar to how we do the title screen, and I'm going to leave this template in here too, so let's go ahead and load uncompressed graphics, and I also numbered each one. So load the palette, and we'll load the mappings. Now they're all lined up, and let's show you something. Now we did run into a similar limitation where there were repeating tiles, but in this case, there are some tiles that for some reason it just won't draw to the screen. So what I did was I just left an extra little edge border here, and you can go ahead and paint this whatever color you want. It's got white, so we can go ahead and make this border right here white. And then in the center, you can even do this, 96 and 232s. So we'll go back in here. this black background entirely kind of a maroon color, and we'll go ahead and copy this yellowish color, say 224192. You know what, I'll bring it up just like that, and I can just copy it over. And there's that kind of mustard color. You know what we'll do? Just make some shapes. Now you can just paste in, draw in whatever you want, just stay within the bounds of the borders. If you draw something down here, it's not going to be drawn to screen, because the way I had to do this was I had to have it repeat these at the bottom. So rather than having a bunch of blocks over on the sides, or you know how Skate had it in the middle of his hat, you can quite literally just ignore the borders and draw whatever you want in the center, so they're nice and uniform when you see them, the portraits. Do an arrow this way and an arrow up. Hover over that so I can flood fill it in. Yeah, might as well just color it in, right? Okay. Got a single pixel there. Okay, we'll go ahead and I'm going to do a save as just so I can keep the template going. I'll call this portrait shapes. We'll go ahead and load from image over active frame. Pick these. Now we can go ahead and save, uncompress graphics, and we can pretty much give it the same name, portraits shapes.bin, and save. And now let's go and insert it into the ROM. We can close this. And go into portraits and the new portraits file that we just created, portrait shape. You have to recompress this. And we'll call this same thing, just add that it's compressed. And these are going to go in at 34A98. So let's go to 34A98. Okay, 34A98. Let's paste it right here. Same thing as with the title, just add a 00 there. And first off, let's make sure that it made its way into the ROM. Yeah, nice jumbled up mess there. Next we have to fix the mapping so it doesn't look like a horrific scene, I guess. So we have the portraits mapping right here. Let's bring this in here and check the utility where it goes. In at 34998. Okay, so there's 34998, and we'll just paste that in here. Save, and let's check and make sure this is going to work correctly. Look at that. New portraits. Not the greatest looking things, but it serves a purpose. And consider the fact that you can now use much of the space to its entirety. Well, let's go ahead and move on to the last part of the video. Okay, so before I forget, I'm going to show you how to easily create a palette using the Sonic Map Editor. So we'll use the portraits one as an example since it's still in here. Alright, so this red color right here, let's go ahead and change that to, we'll say blue. Okay, so there's the correct blue. And with this set up like this, we can go ahead and save data file, save primary palette line. If you do full palette, it's going to get all these extra ones in, and you don't want that. You don't want secondary lines either, just do the primary. And we can name this Portraits Palette New. .bin. Save it right into Portraits. Now, we can go ahead and view the original title screen first, the original Shapes Colors one. We'll still have the red backdrop with the yellowish foreground. So let's go ahead and go back to our tool. And we'll go with the dark palette. So 7540. Go to 7540. Okay, so here we are at 7540. Let's grab that palette and bring it into the hex editor now. Gotta love how that happens. Okay, we're going to copy from here and paste right into this location. We can go ahead and save. And now let's check in the emulator. Okay, I just wanted to make mention of something. The fact that this is red shows that it is actually on the light palette, and this blue is on the dark palette. So at least now you can tell which colors go to where. And it also looks like the yellow is on the dark palette. Okay, so for the last part of this video, I'm going to show how to replace this picture right here. Now, we're going to be limited to how much we can actually use because of the way the mapping is done. Like there's a spot where it, no matter what you do, repeats 5 tiles right here. It also repeats a huge chunk down here. There is a way to bypass that, and I'll show that in this. I'll also include a template that'll help you out. Much of the space inside the borders, if not all of it, can be utilized. So you can still have a nice picture here, and I'll show you the one that I've used in my own personal ROM hack. So I just call this story screen 1, and I actually have it open down here in Tile Molester. Now, again, you want to make sure that the very first tile is black. And I didn't change the palette around. You can change the palettes. That's completely up to you. That's why I left the locations in where they are. And you just want to make, I would say to be safe, the top and the bottom tiles all the same color, shape, whatever be. It's going to be repeated, and there's unfortunately nothing you can do about it. With that said, I have the story screen right here, which is the one that's actually open. And the way I pulled this out was exactly the same way as I did with the title screen and portraits. I lined them all up, and it literally took me the greater part of a day to figure out the mapping. But the way it is, it works, and I will leave a mapping template for you. So let's go ahead and copy this into the ROM, and then we'll mess with the mappings. Let's close our old portrait stuff. Let's get this recompressed. You don't actually have to click that to recompress it. I just wanted to make sure it was up for use later. Okay, story screen compressed. Let's place that in here. Kind of big. That's a little smaller than the title screen. And that is going to go in at 27A90. So let's go to 27A90. Guess it would help if I was in the right file. But yes, copy here. And 27A90. Right there at the beginning of it. Go ahead and paste that in. Now it's got a 00 at the end of it. I still like to put an extra one there just in case, because this is actually considered part of this right here, part of what we inserted. Let's go ahead and now it's not going to look perfect yet, but we're going to go ahead and test to make sure that it made its way in there correctly. There it is. Now we just need to correct the mapping, and that's pretty much it for that part. I can also show you where to edit the story text. But first, let's fix the mapping. So let's close this. And I have a mapping done right here. I will also include that in the download. Minimize this and check our tool on where it's supposed to go. 28. Am I on the right one? Yes. 28 CCE. Copy that. Let's go to 28 CCE. Okay, we're at 28 CCE. Let's go ahead and just paste it right in. Now, just wanted to note a couple things. Like, like, let's save it first. This spot right here. This, as far as I can tell, is a routine that repeats tiles. There's two of these in here. There's one here, and one right here. E0, 10, 62, 11. These appear to repeat the tiles on top and bottom, which is why I said just come up with a nice border where the tiles are repeating. Kind of like they did in the original. But anyways, with that saved, let's go ahead and test this out now. There's Elmo. Elmo sleeping in his bed. Okay, so for the last part, and this is going to be a simple one, it's just a string search, just like the last time. We just look for, one, really. So, start at the top, make it easier on yourself. And we have 1 year after the battle right there. And we're going to see that change in here also. Like the message says, this is the end of the video. If you have any questions, need any help, just leave a comment. I'm also over on romhacking.net as Light Rain. You can give me a private message, or you can just, like I said, you can check our Facebook group. I have links on the bottom. Also, I started a thread about this in our Discord group. There's also an invite link at the bottom. There's a link to our website, retro-replay.com. And hey, if you like the video, then give us a thumbs up and consider subscribing to see more content like this. As I pick apart the ROM, I'm going to also show how to replace the second story screen and the 6 ending screens, and eventually get to the point where we can replace all the sprites in the game that make up the terrain. And we're also going to have more gameplay videos up, and thanks for watching, and have a good one.